Yeah, Freddie. Freddie.
Thank you, Stu. I can't tell you how happy I am to be standing side by side with the last Democratic standard bearer for mayor in the city. As we join Stu Applebaum and his union in supporting the re-election of Bill Perkins. I know Bill a long time. He's a long-time friend of mine. We've worked together on issues that we both care about. And I have long admired his public service. A public service that's been characterized by intelligence, integrity, and independence. I want someone I'm supporting and someone who represents all of us in the state Senate, someone who asks the right questions. More importantly, does the right thing. Let me give you an example of what the right thing was. And there are many examples in Bill's career. The passage of the lead paint poisoning prevention act was something that struck me. While people across the building were saying lead poisoning is no problem anymore in New York, probably having visited these places where there were open gashes in ceilings and paint on walls, crack and peel, and make children sick. Perhaps they've never looked into the eyes of a parent whose child is lead poisoned, whose future is compromised. Bill Perkins did. He has. He didn't forget. And he took leadership in the face of a very strong lobby, in the face of administration that was opposed to this legislation and remained so. Bill stood his ground and passed important legislation that saved children's lives. I'm proud to stand with Bill Perkins. He's the kind of legislator I want to see representing us in Albany. He's the kind of independent voice we all need in Albany.
And now I have the privilege of introducing someone I had a few things to say about last year. And that is my good friend, but also someone who I think was an extraordinary leader because of the way he spoke out for everyone in the city and looked out for the concerns of all. And that resonated with people. And we saw that on election day. It was extraordinary that Bill Thompson came so close to becoming elected mayor of this city despite the onslaught of obscene money, $109 million at least, that I believe corrupted our election process and will be remembered as one of the darkest moments in New York City electoral history. It gives me great pleasure to introduce somebody who is an inspiration to me and an inspiration to the members of my union, Bill Thompson.
Thank you, Stuart. You know, this is a good afternoon. I get to stand first with two good friends, Freddie Ferrer and Stu Applebaum. Two moral, principled leaders in this city. And over the years, when you look at where people don't have a voice and they need someone to stand up for them, these two gentlemen have been there. Stu's been there, not just for the members of his union, but for working men and women in this city. Freddie, I've known Freddie it's a long time now. Neither one of us had gray hair. We both had a lot more at that point. He's always stood up for what is right, and I've always respected that about him. So I'm in great company as we stand together today supporting Bill Perkins. I've had the opportunity to work with Bill as a government official and as an elected official. I think I stood here with him as we stood up and supported his legislation on lead paint, and how we were here to protect children. And I remember back then, the landlord said to Bill Perkins, your legislation will bankrupt us. Your legislation will lead to abandonment. don't stand up and protect those children. And I remember they asked him, water it down, change the legislation. He didn't do that. He made sure that legislation moved through and protected our young people. And you know something? I haven't seen abandonment go up. I haven't seen things change. I haven't seen landlords in a tougher place. I have seen children have been protected by the toughest lead paint bill that this nation has. That's because of Bill Perkins. I just left a meeting. I chair the Battery Park City Authority. We are moving over there, as all authorities and corporations in the state of New York. We're moving to greater transparency and openness because of the legislation that Bill Perkins passed on the state level. He said, wait a minute, those in government, why should you be less transparent and less open than those in the private sector, than those in corporations? And New York State is moving now to comply with greater openness and transparency and disclosure because of Bill Perkins and the legislation that he put forward. I'm a little different than everybody else here, I think. I'm standing here not just as a supporter and somebody who believes in Bill Perkins. I'm here as a constituent. I'm going to have the opportunity to vote for him again this September and then again this November. I've walked the streets of Harlem with Bill Perkins. I can tell you the constituents up there want him back again because of the job that he's done, because of the independence that he's shown, because all too often when people say, you know, just keep your head down, don't speak up, you'll get reelected. Why make waves? Bill Perkins understands that it isn't worth being in government if you don't stand up and fight for what you believe. So I'm happy to be here today to endorse him, and not just to say he can use my name as a person who endorses him for re-election. I'm going to be out in the streets campaigning with Bill Perkins. I believe that the district needs him back again. I think the constituents understand that he's somebody who has stood up and fought for them, whether it's in housing, whether it's protecting their children, whether it is in education or in other things. Bill Perkins has been there and always raised his voice. I'm happy to stand with Bill Perkins and lend my voice to so many others who endorse him for re-election. Bill? It is my pleasure to bring forward the state Senate. Excuse me.